I swear, this thing gives me PTSD of that that ground-mounted alerter in Kansas.
Peter, the horse is here.
Alright, well I think that was a pretty good example of kind of what we're going to be talking about today. I thought I'd prefer to actually just kind of show it off rather than go into talking about it first. But here it is. This is the Allertor 125 that I was designing in a Fusion live stream I had posted, I believe it's 2 days ago now. But this is based off of pretty much the later versions of the Allertor, basically almost right before the Allertors were eventually discontinued. But yeah, it's a couple things that just make it, that denote that it's a third generation. Also the fact that it's got a longer or a larger intake projector, and but yeah, just a couple small things really to pretty much clarify that. Not really anything super special in between the different generations. And of course, this is 912. Because as I stated in the video when I was actually designing it, 912 is kind of like my, in terms of dual tones, it's one of my favorite port ratios. I think it sounds really good. So of course I made this one 912 as well. But yeah, it's using the more unique ACA design rotor. I just had to come through right now. I really wanted to go with the unique rotor and stator design because I think that's one of ACA's probably best design choices. It's such an efficient rotor. Of course I talked about this in the live stream and everything like that. That it's compared to that of the Federal, it is just so much louder and crisper. Is really the only way I can kind of describe it. Basically, that comes down to, of course, the inherent efficiency with the better design. Even though this shares a rotor that is the exact same size as that of the 500 SHTT, which you guys have seen, the Los Angeles series. It is the exact same size as that, diameter-wise, and only like ever so slightly, just a tiny bit thicker. I think it's only about like 2 millimeters thicker, which is not enough to make that much of a difference, especially at this scale. But it was just, it is night and day difference with how much louder it was, even without all of the shrouding and ducting that kind of goes with the Allertor to kind of direct the sound where it really wants to go. It's very impressive, and I look forward to using this rotor and stator design for more Sirens from ACA in the future. So like Banshees, P10s, P15s, all that kind of stuff. So here's looking at the back of the stator, because on the Allertors, the stator actually protrudes slightly out of the back of the housing, as they really do kind of on a majority of ACA's Sirens, like the P10 and P15. They all have that kind of same design implement. But what I thought was really cool is that even on the third generation Allertors, that actually shows that even on the later generations, they actually still had the original casting information from like when they were pretty much known just as Biersack and Niedermeyer, whatever. regardless. But I wanted to kind of bring that along as well, because of course I couldn't just stick like a regular little tag on the side like you'd see from Federal, and I like that ACA kind of did this nice little, this kind of embossed kind of thing that they did on it to kind of make it look really cool. So I went ahead and I wanted to make sure I included that. So of course it says Biersack and Niedermeyer Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, United States, patent pending. So let's go ahead and get on to a bit more of the interesting stuff about it, because I know people were kind of wondering how I got it to rotate. And also, I must say, look forward to seeing a bit more rotating models in the future, because now I kind of have a standard for making the rotators that works really, really well. I had toyed with it with the 500, but now after kind of making the ACA, or making the Allertor, I think I pretty much have got it down pat for how I'm going to really do it. So you might see some more rotating models kind of coming out in the future. But that's the inside. A lot of electronics, and believe me, this thing is an absolute pain to assemble. So much like the way the real Allertor works, and pretty much a lot of ACA's rotator kind of architecture, is you've got your motor here. Normally you'd have it would extend all the way, and you have your reduction drive that goes down to, you know, of course, your chain drive. Rather than doing that, I pretty much just have its own separate independent motor to do that, all that rotation and stuff like that. This is a gear-driven rotator, which I'll show in just a second. And then in here, this right here, this is the tone control, basically the tone controller. So this is just basically to speed control, a very small little speed controller that I can use to actually adjust the pitch of the siren itself, so I can actually make it sound correct. After all, it is DC because it's using USB, and this motor, I believe, runs at like 6,500 RPM at 5 volts, which is way too fast. It's way too fast for 912, obviously. So it's been tuned way down in order to actually get it to sound correct. But and then of course the slip rings and all that. That's why this thing is so big. So I had to hide the slip rings in there because there was just like no other way. There is the rotator. That's how that works. Of course, it's just, like I said, it's gear driven. So drive gear, this drive pinion comes out from the bottom. That's directly attached to this rotator motor. And then there's this, basically just this gigantic bowl gear that this whole thing basically just rotates around. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's really not that complex on the inside. Just a lot of kind of engineering of scale is really probably the best way to describe it. Is just basically just trying to get it to all kind of fit and work at this size. That's of course always the challenge with these. So I guess now for some kind of more interesting stuff on it. I'm not exactly sure what the scale is of this. I don't know really kind of what I was going for. I know that this, for example, like I said, the rotor is the exact same size. The rotor and stator are pretty much the exact same size as that of the 500. So, and I know the 500 is 1/12 scale. So this is kind of in there. But then again, I've never actually seen an Allertor, so I don't know how big they actually are. They look pretty huge. Judging by the ground-mounted one in Kansas. But yeah, I've never actually seen how large they are. So I've kind of didn't have a whole bunch of scale options to go off of. But I would consider it kind of like an intermediate scale. It's probably more akin to something like maybe like 1/10, more like 1/10 scale, because it feels large compared to the 500. So I got a little USB tester right there, as well as my ubiquitous, my Walmart, my little Walmart power pack, which everyone always sees me run my sirens with. So go ahead and boot this up. I don't know how well it's going to kind of come out on camera. Probably not very well, because it's very dim. Yeah, it's not going to show up. It's probably just not going to show up at all. So let's go ahead and actually hook it up to power, and we'll see how much current it draws. So you probably can barely see that, but about 100 milliamps. It fluctuates a little bit, about 100. I think I see about 100, 150 milliamps. So, not that bad. Definitely not that bad. It's not drawing a lot of power, and it would definitely run for quite a long time off of this little power pack. I must also say, it is very, very directional, so let's see how this kind of sounds. I'm gonna leave that in. Didn't expect to eat shit on that. There's something funny about seeing it like fumble around like a drunken idiot. When bottom text. Just because of kind of what I could do with it, I didn't really have a way of designing a clutch into the system in order for it to kind of slip when it's under like high stress or high winds. That's pretty much about all I can really discuss about it. It's of course a prototype, so it won't be available in the shop, not for a while. And when it does, the Sirens that kind of will be released, they're gonna have their own release video to kind of announce that they're available. But yeah, I do have plans on selling these models eventually. Again, I want to kind of test it a bit more and see kind of how it fares and kind of how it works over time. I hope to do a bit more content in the future because it was really fun talking to everyone on the live stream yesterday and the day before. So I was thinking about either doing probably at some point maybe just a discussion live stream, or maybe actually doing some more history-oriented videos, more or less going over some of the interesting things about, say, either certain Siren companies or certain Siren designs or certain models of Sirens and like what was interesting about them. I don't know, adding to the Siren content on YouTube, because I think it's kind of cool to see more things being done with the community. At least I'm really proud to be kind of a part of this kind of newer age of things that are kind of going on with the Siren community, and not necessarily shooting like just Siren recordings, which are cool of course and are really interesting to see, especially historical ones. But yeah, I kind of want to do something a little different. So it would even be kind of cool to do like an engineering video of like not necessarily tearing them apart, but like going through and actually kind of explaining certain design choices and why designs, say, either sound a certain way, or what would constitute a good design, or what's some interesting Siren theory. We'll call it Siren theory. I don't know. But yeah, again guys, thanks for watching the video. Comment, rate, and subscribe. Hope to see you on whatever live stream I do next. But yeah, talk about it amongst yourselves in the comments down below. I'd love to see what you guys have to say. So I'm gonna go ahead and get back inside because it is freezing.